Today I am going to discuss about post-dural puncture headache, commonly called PDPH, post-dural puncture headache. Before I am moving into topic, I want to know what are the layers you have to pierce before you enter into the subarachnoid space when you are performing lumbar puncture or sometimes spinal anesthesia. What are the layers you have to pierce before you enter into the subarachnoid space? That means skin to subarachnoid space pathway. You can type Google Map and ask starting point skin, end point subarachnoid space. What are the layers you have to pierce? Yes, please. Then Google Map says, the sister in the Google Map says, puncture skin, number one, puncture skin. Then puncture subcutaneous tissue. Google sister says, puncture subcutaneous tissue, subcutaneous layer. Then fat layer. Then supraspinatus ligament. You have to pierce the supraspinatus ligament. Supraspinatus ligament. Then intraspinatus ligament. In between the spinous process, there is a ligament called intraspinous ligament. You have to pierce that as well. Intraspinous ligament. Then you have to pierce the ligamentum flavum. Google sister says, pierce it. You have to pierce the ligamentum flavum. Once you pierce ligamentum flavum, you can enter into epidural space. You can enter into epidural space. Epidural space is some kind of potential space. The pressure of the epidural space is roughly 2 to 5 minus centimeter H2O. 2 to 5 minus centimeter H2O. That means negative pressure is there. That pressure is very similar to your, very good, pleural cavity pressure. That is very similar to your pleural cavity pressure. Some kind of potential space. So if you go further, here your dura mater. If you pierce dura, you can enter into subarachnoid space. You can enter into subarachnoid space. CSF you can see. If you use hollow needle, the tip of the needle, the CSF start to come out. Those are the layers when you are performing the epidural or subarachnoid block. You have to know about the anatomy. Otherwise, you are going to damage several structures here and there. You can create more and more complications of your patients. It is not good at all. So today I am going to discuss about post-dural puncture headache. When you are performing epidural block or epidural catheter insertion, sometimes accidentally you can pierce your dural layer. If you accidentally pierce it, what happened? It creates a small hole here. CSF start to coming from here to here. CSF start to come from here to here. Here negative pressure also there. Because of that, your CSF volume and the CSF pressure going to be reduced. How much of CSF produce per day? Yes, per day roughly about 450 milliliter CSF production is there. At a time, if I check your CSF volume right now, it is per day. If I check your CSF volume right now, it is roughly about 150 milliliter. 150 milliliter. That means daily product produce 3 times of your present amount. But if you have hollow here, CSF start to leak. The volume is right now not 150, it is somewhere around 100 milliliter. What happened? Your subarachnoid space going to shrink. When your subarachnoid space shrink, your dura going to stretch. Your dura going to stretch. Your dura having large amount of sensory fibers. Large amount of sensory fibers. It will cause pain. You will feel headache. You will feel headache. Headache due to what? Stretching of dura which have sensory that means pain fibers. That is how your spinal headache appear. That is the pathogenesis of spinal headache. Now I am going to check who are the people group which having high tendency to develop dural puncture. High tendency to develop dural puncture. Number 1. If you found a patient with difficult position, patient can't keep in the seated position and bending position, sometimes lateral position. Difficult position create more and more dural puncture. Difficult position. Number 2. Difficult anatomy. Sometimes spinal cord should be like this, sometimes spinal cord like this. Kyphoscoliosis. In that case, you can create more, you can have more and more dural puncture. Kyphoscoliosis or difficult anatomy. Number 3. Multiple attempt. Sometimes in difficult case you have to do multiple puncture right here and there. In that case, those patients can have higher chance of having dural puncture and post-dural puncture headache later. These are dural puncture high chance. High chance. Here multiple attempt. Number 4. BMI high patient, obese patient, landmark difficult, sometimes tissue also not that much stretch, so easily can damage your dura. So high BMI. Number 5. Instead of water, instead of normal saline, some people going to use air to identify the epidural space. You can push like here, and once you enter into the epidural space, because of negative pressure, rapidly that air or fluid come into here. Rapidly that air or fluid come with that pressure once you enter into the epidural space. If you use normal saline, what happen? This normal saline going to push this posterior wall of this epidural wall, this wall of epidural space towards the here, then the puncture will be minimum. Even though you go little bit further, damage not happen. But instead of normal saline, if you use air, it will not create this kind of phenomena there. Then you can easily damage your dura and you can develop post-dural puncture headache. Use of air to identify the epidural space. You can use air or normal saline. Use of normal saline is much more better than use of air in that case. So those are the people who having high chance of developing dural puncture. Those are the people having high chance of developing dural puncture. Even though they develop dural puncture, there are people group which having high chance of post-dural puncture headache. If you develop dural puncture, sometimes you can develop post-dural puncture, sometimes may not. There are people group which have high chance of developing post-dural puncture headache once they develop dural puncture. We will see who are the people group. Number 1, if they have past history of post-dural puncture headache. If they have past history of post-dural puncture headache, they are highly likely to have another post-dural puncture headache this time. So past history. Number 2, low BMI. High BMI people having high chance of developing dural puncture, but low BMI people having high chance of developing post-dural puncture headache. Next one, needle size. If dural puncture happen with large needle, high chance of developing post-dural puncture headache is there. If dural puncture happen with a small needle, lesser chance of developing post-dural puncture headache. In day-to-day anesthetic practice, we did several dural puncture with spinal needle. Gauge size is 25 to 27, small gauge size. Lesser chance of developing post-dural puncture headache. Lesser chance. But if you make dural hole with the epidural needle, little bit larger needle. Epidural needle size is 16 gauge or 18 gauge. When gauge is reduced, needle size is increased. So 16 gauge or 18 gauge mean larger needle. We use for epidural catheter insertion. If you create dural puncture with this size needle, high chance of developing post-dural puncture headache. So needle size is matter. Then multiple puncture. If you create 2-3 dural puncture, high chance of developing post-dural puncture headache. If you found a patient with dehydration, they are having high chance of post-dural puncture headache after dural puncture, dehydration. Not only that, how you are going to create dural puncture also matter. I will tell what I am telling. This is your dural layer. This is your needle. If you create dural hole like this, they having high chance of post-dural puncture headache. If you create dural hole like this, that means with dural hole with some angulation, they are having low chance of post-dural puncture headache. If you create perpendicular hole, high chance of post-dural puncture headache is there. If you create little bit angulated hole, less chance of post-dural puncture headache. Now you know who are the people who having high chance of developing dural puncture. These are the patient group. Who are the patient group having high risk of post-dural puncture headache after dural puncture? These are the people group. Past history, low BMI, needle size, large needle size, multiple attempt, and dehydration and perpendicular needle, not angulated needle. Perpendicular needle having high chance of developing post-dural puncture headache. If you create dural puncture, you can see CSF rapidly come and grow from here to here. Here your CSF cavity. You create dural puncture, CSF rapidly come from here to here, and you can see gush of CSF flow. Look like tap. Because of that, we are going to call it as dural tap. Commonly, you can see with epidural needle. Dural tap. Look like tap. If you found dural tap when you are inserting epidural catheter, what are you going to do? You have to inform your patient. Dural puncture happening, but don't worry, we can manage it. Reassure meantime. You have to inform and reassure. Two things you can do. Dural puncture. Number one, you have to take the needle out. You have to take the needle out and resite epidural catheter. Resite epidural catheter, usually one space high. If you try first time at L4, L5 level, second time you have to try L4, L3 level. Why? If you use lower down level, sometimes needle bevel is towards the upside. Catheter usually going to upward direction. Catheter come from L5S1 level, and from this created hole, catheter can go into subarachnoid space. Catheter come from here and can go from here to here, subarachnoid space. Because that little pier, we are going to use little bit higher space. catheter usually going to upward direction. In that case, it will very unlikely to go catheter through this hole. So number one you can do is take needle out, choose one space above and go into that space, and you can put epidural catheter there and you can manage. Number two, from that hole you can insert catheter into subarachnoid space. You want to insert into epidural space, but we are going to insert into subarachnoid space. Are there any benefit of inserting catheter into subarachnoid space? Yes, you no need to go to another hole. You can use it as a spinal catheter. Number two, catheter insertion and spinal catheter. Use it as spinal catheter. When it is in the spinal space, subarachnoid space, if you give larger amount of dose, you can create total spinal block if you think that is epidural catheter. Because of that, you have to label it correctly, and you have to handle, or doctor have to handle that catheter, not allowed to handle the nursing officer. Epidural catheter you can allow to handle by nursing officer, but if you have put that into spinal subarachnoid space, you have to handle, or your other colleague doctors have to handle that spinal catheter. Doctor handle. Not only that, what are the other benefit of putting catheter into subarachnoid space? Once you put catheter into subarachnoid space from this needle, here hole, here catheter, here my dural layer. What happens? Dural layer identify this catheter as foreign material. Yes, it is foreign material. Catheter is not present in your body normally. Because of that, it creates some kind of inflammatory reaction and fibroblast reaction around the catheter. Inflammatory and fibroblast reaction around the catheter. So, when you are removing the catheter, usually 72 hours later, you have to remove the catheter. 72 hours later, what happened? Here fibroblastic reaction is there. Once you remove catheter, this fibrocyte start to contract and this hole going to be closed. But this one not happen in each and every case. You can try. So this hole going to partially closed by fibroblast contraction. Fibroblast contraction. Two things you can do. Number one, you can take it out and you can try with the one higher space, or you can put catheter and you have to remove in 72 hours. If you create dural puncture, you have to tell your patients you can develop spinal headache. You can develop post-dural puncture headache. These are the signs and symptoms of post-dural puncture headache. For that, you have to know about the post-dural puncture headache. Anyone tell what are the signs and symptoms of post-dural puncture headache? Yes, very good. Headache. Post-dural puncture headache. Yes. Following dural puncture, usually 72 to 48 hours after you develop headache. Highly likely to be post-dural puncture headache. Number two, that headache has classical features. Classic features is there. Fronto-occipital headache. Fronto-occipital headache relieved by supine position. Relieved by supine position. Relieved. Aggravated by standing. Not only that, coughing, sneezing, straining, all are aggravate this headache. Cough, straining, sneezing, all are going to aggravate the headache. Next one. Sometimes you can have features of meningism, features of meningeal irritation. Those are neck stiffness. Sometimes you can have photophobia. Nausea, vomiting associated with most of the disease. Here also it associated nausea and vomiting. You can write nausea and vomiting as a side effect for most of the drugs except antiemetic. Don't write nausea and vomiting as a side effect for antiemetic drugs. So here your patient can develop nausea and vomiting. So if your patient says this kind of cardinal feature, you can say your patient can have post-dural puncture headache. You have to manage post-dural puncture headache. Meantime, sometime your patient can have different headache, but your surgeon, your obstetrician try to push into the post-dural puncture headache and blame on you. In that case, you have to know about the differential diagnosis for post-surgery or post-procedure headache. Differential diagnosis for headache, you have to know. You have to exclude that differential diagnosis before you come into post-dural puncture headache. What are the other kind of disease headache your patient can have? Actually, this is a post-surgery. Trauma and stress is there, so your patient can have tension type headache. Number one, your patient can have differential diagnosis here. Differential diagnosis, tension headache. Your patient can have migraine. So they can attribute these symptoms sometimes, not all the symptoms, part of symptoms, migraine. Sinusitis, meningitis, encephalitis. Rarely, venous sinus thrombosis can also associated with post-surgery headache. Venous sinus thrombosis. If your patient found to have post-dural puncture, you exclude these things by clinically, and sometimes you have to do few investigations to exclude meningitis, full blood count like things. Once you exclude those things, your diagnosis is post-dural puncture headache. How are you going to manage post-dural puncture headache? Yes, please. Number one, you have to reassure your patient. You have to reassure your patient. You have to tell this will improve within next 5 to 7 days. This will completely resolve. Not appear again. Don't worry. But meantime, you have to treat. Number one, what you can do is reassure. Number two, conservative management thing you can practice. Conservative management. Ask your patient to bed rest because this aggravate CSF leak. Standing position aggravates CSF leak. So keep in the supine position or rest. Sometime you can ask your patient to use abdominal binder. What? Abdominal binder. How it helps? Yes, please. When you increase the abdominal pressure, your blood going to divert into the epidural venous plexus. In that case, space of the epidural venous pressure going to reduce. Pressure of the spinal epidural space going to increase. So CSF leak will be minimized. But nowadays this one is not that much practice. But you can ask your patient to use abdominal binder if necessary. Then hydrate your patient well. If you hydrate well, it will improve your CSF production, increase CSF production, and reduce CSF absorption. CSF production is active process done by your choroid plexus mainly. CSF absorption is passive process. If you have low venous pressure, rapidly absorb. If you have high venous pressure, by giving IV fluid or hydration, it will reduces the CSF reabsorption. CSF reabsorption happen at the level of arachnoid granulation. Arachnoid granulation here choroid plexus. Arachnoid granulation CSF absorption, production and the choroid plexus. You have to hydrate patient either oral or IV fluid. Then you can use analgesics. You can use analgesics. Simple analgesics like paracetamol, diclofenac, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories you can use diclofenac, or sometimes you may have to use intermittent opioid like morphine. If you have patient having severe headache, sometimes you have to use intermittent morphine. If you have patient complaining nausea and vomiting, with the combination of morphine, you have to use sometimes antiemetic drugs. Antiemetic drugs. Next one. Sometime, if you are going to give caffeine, it will improve symptoms. Caffeine. You can ask your patient to drink coffee as much as possible. Caffeine. Drink coffee. 8 to 10 cups per day. Ideally 800 milligram to 1000 milligrams caffeine per day. It will improve symptom rapidly. But unfortunately, if you give large amount of coffee, your patient can develop constipation. I think you have experience with the coffee, constipation. Both are very closely combined most of the time. So, if your patient develop constipation, then it will cause staining more while defecation, more and more staining. Because of that, more and more CSF, it can aggravate symptoms. So, if you are going to prescribe coffee, you have to prescribe sometime, not at all, sometime laxatives, stool or stool softeners. Number 6. Your spinal headache have some similar features to migraine sometimes. Intense vasoconstriction followed by vasodilatation. The pathology of the migraine most of the time. Here also they can have same picture sometimes. So the drug for migraine is sumatriptan here. Sumatriptan. You can prescribe here as well. It will help to reduce the symptom and improve the patient. Relieve symptoms. So what you can do is reassure patients. Then the conservative management, bed rest, abdominal bite, hydrate, improve the CSF production and reduce the CSF absorption. Paracetamol, diclofenac, opioid with antiemetics. The increased caffeine amount 6 to 8 cups per day. If your patient develops constipation, consider stool softener and the sumatriptan. Those are the pharmacological and conservative management of post-dural puncture headache. With those things, if your patient not improve, you can consider epidural blood patch. What is epidural blood patch? You can put blood into epidural space and you can seal that block here. Here your dura, here the puncture site. Now what I am going to do is, I am going to take blood from the elbow, here cubital vein. I am going to take blood very aseptically. Not one doctor take blood very aseptically. Usually 20 to 30 ml of blood taken into syringe. While that guy taking blood, other one going to do a epidural puncture. One space below the puncture site. Then once you enter into the epidural space with epidural needle. You going to inject this blood into epidural space. Inject blood into epidural space. 20 milliliter is usually enough. With that blood patch, believe me, your patient suddenly improve. Your patient, while injecting, your patient improve. Now I am okay. Your patient happily said. So with the blood patch, with the first blood patch, 70% improved. With the second, if they are not improved, with the second blood patch, 90% of them are improved. Why you choose one space below here? You can use same space but not the high space. One space below. Why? Usually when your dura space open, if I inject something to here, it will spread two space from here to here and one space from here to here. That is how dura separate. One down and two up. Two up one is loosely attached, down one is tightly attached. If I inject to here, it will separate two layer from here to here, one layer from here to here. So that is why we are usually give one space below the puncture site. With the one blood patch, 70% of them improve then and there. With the two blood patch, 90% of them improve. Once you give the blood patch, ask your patient to be in the supine position for 2 hours. Because of that, before coming to procedure, ask patient to urinate and defecate, whatever they want, do and come. Another thing is, you have to take consent. You have to take consent for blood patch. Very rarely, very unlucky patients not going to improve with this procedure. Sometimes you have to do dural repair and neurosurgery opinion in that case. Neurosurgery opinion and NSU opinion and repair. I haven't seen any case of dural repair in my life. My life is still 25 years. Thank you very much for listening for post-dural puncture headache.